What is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome? So, POTS for short. POTS is a very complicated situation. A lot of females are affected by it these days, and it's where you go from a seated or standing, or you go from a seated or laying position to a standing position, and it causes you to get very lightheaded and faint. The blood pressure and heart rate drop, and a lot of that at Vital Balance is we're looking at the vestibular system to see if that is part of why it's happening. The vestibular system's job is to tell the brain, which is supposed to tell the heart, that you went from a laying position to a standing position. So all the fluid in those inner ears and the semicircular canals are stimulating the brainstem to tell the heart rate and the blood pressure to go up so you don't get lightheaded. That's a normal response. But if the vestibular system is slow, or the neurological inputs or the processing centers in the brainstem are delayed and they're slow, then you're not going to get as a quick of a response, and then that's when you get the lightheaded symptoms. POTS cases are always difficult. It's usually never a short care plan. However, usually we do get improvement. So usually we don't know if it's because it's the vestibular system that's getting better or if it's because the brainstem processing areas are getting better. But either way, we're getting an improvement. So, which is much better than the medical system, which doesn't seem to have a great solution for it at this moment. So that is our main purpose at Vital Balance for addressing POTS. We're going to take x-rays of the neck. If it's a very complicated case, we'll do a cone beam CT, which is a three-dimensional x-ray to look at it at all angles. We'll be able to see what the tissues around the brainstem are situated, how much balance there is in that area. Are they symmetrically located? Is what kinked up or rotated on one side, which is causing suboccipital muscle tension, which is going to affect how the vestibular nucleus in the brainstem is processing that information and where your head is in space. So your whole body's orientation process comes from three areas: the eyes, the inner ears, and mainly the upper neck, but also the rest of the proprioception in your body. The upper neck is by far the most sensitive, and it's where the body gets most of its proprioception. So that's where we're going to look most often. So if there is imbalance there, then that means the inner ears and the eyes are not going to be on the same page as the neck, and then that's going to add confusion to the already large amount of information that's coming from that area. So if that's the case, it's going to delay how quickly the brain can process that information. At Vital Balance, we're always looking at brain efficiency and how quickly commands can be processed, because the brain is very similar to a computer. There's an input. The brain senses what's going on in the body. That's the input. It processes that information. It then has an output. Most of that is subconscious. That's called the autonomic nervous system, meaning you don't need to think about it. So it just happens automatically, like food digestion, heartbeat, and immune system. All that's happening behind the scenes. So if we can improve how that is operating, it should help improve how well the heart and the inner ears and all that autonomic system processing with the brainstem is happening. So that's what we're looking at in real time at Vital Balance, is improving the efficiency of that system, and that's why POTS cases tend to get better here at Vital Balance.